Hey, everybody. Welcome to yet another episode of this Daily Dealer Live. I'm your host, Sam Dark, and co-hosting today is the car dealership guy, Yossi. Welcome, Yossi.
Good to see you, Sam. A little technical difficulties, but I'm pumped for another episode.
I love it. So as a reminder to our audience, post your questions, comments to social media. Your comments, your interactions help us shape the entire show. First up today, Yossi, a survey question. So this year, there are 5 selling Saturdays plus Memorial Day in the month of May, which gives us an opportunity to crush records. Over the past decade, Yossi, how many times have we had 5 Saturdays in May?
Give me the answer, Sam. Don't
All
keep
right,
me waiting.
There we go. 3 times. You knew it because you chat GPT'd it, which everyone should do. 2015, which was a decade ago. 2020, 2021, which was COVID. So it's cool, Yossi, because this weekend in automotive, we could crush it. Memorial Day is a top 3 automotive selling weekend. Also that according to chat GPT. So here's our survey question, Yossi, for our audience today. And we'll hit your answers at the very end of today's show. The question is this: what are you doing this Memorial Day holiday to bring traffic into the dealership? We'll unveil your answers at the end of today's show. So I'm excited about that. What promotions, what activities, barbecues, whatever. What are you doing to celebrate the holiday and bring customers in? Today, buckle up for an action-packed show. And we have 3 amazing dealer guests today, including Eric Barbosa, who's VP Variable Ops at Cavender Auto Group. Plus today, Yossi, we have a countering perspective on the show from earlier this week, Matt Bauer's take on dealership leaseback. So I'm super excited to get that perspective, Yossi.
Yeah, that was a great episode. 2 episodes ago, I believe.
Yeah.
Just some great discussions. Got a lot of just a lot of discourse on social media. So it's good to bring different perspectives or show maybe just a different viewpoint on this topic. So it's gonna be a great show.
All right. Well, before we get into the show and our first interview, let's dive into today's headlines. So breaking news today from Volvo Cars, where CEO Hakan Samuelsson says customers are on the hook for, quote, a large part of rising tariffs. His comments come as President Trump floats a straight 50% tariff on goods from the European Union starting June 1st. This would severely limit the ability of Volvo to sell its affordable EX30 electric vehicle in the U.S., according to Volvo and according to Hakan Samuelsson. Interesting to see this strong of a statement coming from the CEO executive of a large automaker, Yossi.
Yeah, I think that Trump just announced this morning. From what I understand, it was pretty impulsive. This wasn't something that was very planned. And I don't think we're going to see this last for very long. That's just a personal opinion. But if you've seen what's happened over the last month and a half, this may go into effect on June 1st, as Trump has, threatened here. I think he's really just anchoring to try to accelerate negotiations and actually get somewhere, because it seems like they haven't gotten very far with the EU. So my personal take is this would not be very favorable for Volvo dealers. It is only one model, so it's not the end of the world either. We should just, be realistic about that. But I think that this is going to go away within the next 30 days. That's my prediction.
A lot of noise, which ultimately ends up helping to create that tariff close as we look into this holiday weekend. So let's dive into our first news headline today. We're sticking with Volvo. So earlier this week, we unveiled Apple's choice, Aston Martin, for its new Apple CarPlay. It's an exciting new feature that Apple is working to develop. Google has now selected its first partner for Android. And guess what? It's Volvo. Volvo is now Google's lead partner for developing Android automotive software, giving it early access to new features and tighter integration. Google engineers will test software directly in Volvo vehicles, accelerating real-world development and reducing the lag that plagues other automakers. Volvo will be first to deploy Android 15 in vehicles, starting with the EX90 electric SUV, speaking of that vehicle, while most competitors remain stuck on outdated versions. The collaboration also introduces Google's Gemini A1 to cars, enabling advanced voice-driven tasks like searching messages. How cool would that be as you're driving down the road verbally for directions or building shopping lists? It goes back to that conversation we had earlier in the week and last week with Brian Benstock about who's best to create this user interface in automobiles. Tesla does a nice job, but of all the OEMs, it's actually Apple and it's Google that have just really led the way. Next up today, Cox reports a 2-point decline in dealer confidence in a survey released just yesterday. Dealer confidence is slipping overall, dropping to 2 points quarter over quarter, with independents feeling the bulk of the decline versus their franchise counterparts. Franchise dealers are riding strong new car momentum thanks to better inventory and improved customer traffic, while used car sellers are seeing slower foot traffic and tighter margins. And it's interesting as you look ahead to the rest of 2025 and how this plays out, Yossi.
Yeah, Sam, think about the independent right now. You are facing a market where inventories continue to just constrain, and it's predicted to continue to constrain through at least the end of the year due to the lack of production, throughout the pandemic. Franchise dealers are increasingly entering the territory at just higher rates, right? Because they need to sell used in order to keep up with this market and demand, also to combat potential tariffs and unaffordability. And you're a used car dealer. You only have one major profit center. That's the used cars. You don't have service. You don't have new. You don't have parts. So it's a tough spot to be a used car dealer. Not to mention the overall macro and rate environment and how we're seeing delinquencies rise as well for the deep subprime segment, which impacts lending and how you can actually get customers approved. And so it's going to remain tight for used car dealers. There's no doubt about that. I feel for them in this environment. But the used car dealer will figure out a way to get through it, just like they did when inventory values cratered over the last year and a half, 2 years.
Yeah, but they are starting to feel that. So yeah, that's interesting. All right, last up today, Yossi. Big move out of Washington yesterday in the EV adoption war. The U.S. Senate voted on California's EV mandate, which would phase out gas vehicles for sale in California at new dealerships by 2035. In a 51-44 vote, the Senate repealed the EPA waiver that let California mandate EVs by 2035, putting the final decision in President Trump's hands. If enacted, the rule would pull power back to Washington, reshaping how automakers plan EV rollouts and compliance nationwide. Dealer and lawmaker feedback is coalescing around one theme: EV adoption should follow customer demand, not political deadlines. Well, California's Governor Newsom and Attorney General Rob Bonta are ready to fight the rollback in court, framing it as both an environmental and economic threat. But for now, it seems very likely that President Trump will sign this bill, which is super interesting.
Many people thought this, Sam. Many people thought this, and I think one of the interesting emails I received right as this was announced was from a large dealer and said, "Hey, look, it's actually happened. Expect just reduced EV production from the OEMs, right? People were trying to chase this hurdle that was upcoming here in the next decade. That's not the case anymore, or it's about to not be the case when Trump signs it. And so we're likely just going to see a lot less investment in that space."
Yeah. In fact, we saw a lot of OEMs jumping in to help advocate for this. Toyota's one of them, right? Where they've gone all in on hybrids. They don't want to see a world where only EVs can be sold in the state of California. So very interesting. All right, Yossi, are you ready for our first guest today?
Let's do it.
Let's dive into it. So welcome to the show, Eric Barbosa, VP of Variable Ops at the Cavender Auto Group. Eric, welcome to the show.
Hey, how you guys doing? Happy to be here and get to speak with Yossi and you again. So this is awesome.
Exciting to have you on the show. Yeah. Well, Eric, start out. How's business right now as we head into this holiday weekend?
Perspective, business is to us, it's good. It's a mindset. And is it a little slower than we'd like in May? Yeah, but I think the anticipation is these last, 10, 12 days that we have to finish the month. So it's normal for us. So we're just looking forward to this weekend, big 3 days, and then to finish on a Saturday is going to be big for us.
Eric, what brands?
JLR, Jaguar Land Rover, Cadillac, Chevy, Buick GMC, Ford, and Nissan.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so heavy domestic.
Heavy domestic, yes, sir.
What of those, what OEMs are stepping up best as we head into the holiday weekend and finishing out the year? Where are you seeing the most support in terms of incentives and just factory help to make vehicles available and help you sell?
I think the domestics, the Fords, it's different with the luxury brands with JLR, but Nissan stepped up as well. They just came out with their new program at the beginning of the month, so that's great. And as far as the push for these weekends in this month, I think that's a lot more dealer driven than sometimes the factory. So
yeah, absolutely. So it's interesting. I was on social media and I saw a campaign that you're running right now. I'd love to know more about as we head into this Memorial Day weekend. So it says, if you're active military or a veteran, free oil changes for life on us. So here's the question. What inspired your commitment to the military community? Tell us a little bit about this promotion, and has it been successful?
That's a big initiative for the Cavenders, Rob Cavender, Lee Cavender. We're in San Antonio, Texas, which they call it Military City, USA. There's a lot of bases here, big military community, and it's a big deal. They served us. Why we can't, why not serve them in any way that we can as an organization? So it started 2.5 years ago with our Cavender commitment, which is basically oil changes for life on us, and you buy a new or used car, no matter what the brand or make it is, we're going to take care of you. So it's a big initiative. It's just part of our culture here.
And do you end up getting quite a few takers on this? I mean, what do the receipts look like? And then how do you, does it just go to marketing expense? Where do you put that?
We've set aside, no different than maintenance package that we have. And yeah, it's a little bit of a advertising cost to it, but again, we're more than happy to do it. And it's a big deal for us. Again, it's Military City, USA. So
Sam bringing all the goods, man, breaking down the P&L. It's my favorite.
I want to know, because I think that's a really cool promotion. And then how do you, in a large dealer group, how do you bring that back economically, right, Eric?
Well, again, taking care of our community. They come back, we bring them back to the service department. We take care of them there. We take care of them when they want a retail deal as well. So just, it's a big initiative, and it's working out really well for us.
So, hey, if you're military this weekend, go check out a member of your auto group, a store. Another interesting thing that I learned about you guys as I was doing a little bit of background research, you have a policy where managers in your auto group are required to post at least 10 times a day to social media as a way of kind of getting out your footprint and helping to spread the message of the Cavender Auto Group. Talk to us a little bit about that. How is that requirement met, and how's it working?
All right, let me clear that up.
Okay, let's go.
If there's not anybody watching, we'll have some people commenting. What does that mean?
Yeah,
we have a requirement. We do 50, 20, 10s, 2s, and 1s, which is 50 calls, 20 text messages, and video sent, 10 social media posts, set 2 appointments, and sell a car a day. And that's kind of like our war cry. And then we have our quarter times at every one of our stores, where all our stores stop at 12, 2, 4, and 6. So the teams can update where we're at. The whole strategy on the post, and well, you can't post that much, it's too hard to do content. Well, how easy is it to post on Marketplace one car and get some free advertising? So we require the attempt of 10 posts. Now, it doesn't happen. It's extremely tough to get these guys on board. We have 130 associates, but if you think about, if they're just doing 3 per day at 130 of them, and then the management staff's also helping, that helps our algorithm, our reach to get our message, and it's all free, and it's social media.
It's a ripple in the pond. I mean, it used to be in the day when I started in the business back in the 90s, you'd go put license plate frames or your business card under a windshield wiper at a mall. That's ludicrous today, right? Because nobody cares. The social media, I love that as a strategy. What's been the impact of that to sales? Have you been able to quantify that?
Yeah, back in pre-23, let's say March of 23, I think is when we started that initiative. Probably compound, we were selling 12 to 1,300 cars. In 24, we got it up to 14, 15, or 23, 14, 1,500 per month. And then last year, going into this year, we're averaging 1,750. Our activities, we pace about 250,000 activities a month from our team, which obviously the more activities, the more productivity. And somebody says, well, that's micromanaging. I've heard all the things. And what are our people supposed to be doing while they're here at the dealership, if not calling customers back and interacting and follow up?
Yeah.
And what are the managers supposed to be doing? Coaching them on what to do and get involved and help.
Activity creates activity, Eric, doesn't it? And in automotive, anytime we create that activity, as long as it's well directed and well measured, well monitored, it does well. Do you ever have rogue salespeople posting something where you're like, wait, that is completely not in line with how we do things? How do you watch it?
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day. Luckily, our culture is built that there's sometimes that they get really creative, and we don't want to suppress the creativity, but we want to make sure it's in line. Yeah. So
I would also say, think about this, right? You rather take 1,000 shots at net and have a couple that are just, you got to clean up than not take any shots. I mean, you might as well just sit there in a box and not try anything at that point. So I think I'm totally, team set the marker, right? Let people chase that. You're setting them up for success, right? I think anyone that would call that micromanaging, I would question if they've ever been a leader or led a team in their life, because what you're actually doing, you said it yourself, it's attempts. You're giving me a blueprint, and it's my, it's at my discretion at that point how I use that blueprint, and if I use it effectively to drum up more business, right? At the end of the day, I want to be more successful, so why would I not use that? So I think it's a great, just initiative, and I don't see the downside there.
So I mean, we deal with it every day. Just yesterday, I was at one of the stores, and I love feedback, negative or positive. To me, it's all positive. One of the veterans was like, he was voicing his opinion on it, and then when we got through it, he understood that it's just that it's at bats. We need as many as we can, and at the end of the day, if you're going to be here 8 hours, 10 hours, 12, 6, 5, be efficient and be impactful with the time that you're here, and that's the whole basis of it.
So I would imagine, Eric, one of the biggest challenges is getting folks that aren't on social media or less comfortable with it, comfortable and willing to post. Do you have any stories of a salesperson that went from, I don't want to be on social media because I think people are trying to track me and I'm super nervous about being on it, to, hey, I see the value and it's helped me sell cars and I've expanded my reach as a salesperson as a result?
Yeah, it's usually the just traditional, the longer term salespeople that we have, or consultants, but it's a not knowing how to use it problem. They don't want to say that they don't know how to use it, and it's funny because you ask them, "Are you on social media?" Yeah, go check their screen time. They're using it 2 to 3 hours, but they're not using it to be productive and sell cars from it. And just when you sit down and coach them through it, and then actually show them. Me personally, at my previous place, I know it's going to sound crazy, but I posted 300 times a month.
Wow.
And I was a managing partner. So I not only knew how to do it, I did it myself. And I didn't do it for any other reason that I had to, because I was in a town of 4,000 people. And how was I going to generate leads? And now you got people like Russell Flip Swips, who's phenomenal. And look what he's doing with the way he brands. So you got to teach them, show them the why behind it. And if they don't want to, at the end of the day, I'm not forcing anybody to do it. We want to coach people how to do it, and they usually buy in. And they do have good results from it.
Eric, I want to shift the conversation for a second. I'm thinking back to our prior podcast that I had with you, and you had mentioned, or maybe it was Rob who had mentioned, that you guys implemented entrepreneur's operating system at your store, right? Like the goal setting framework that you operate by. Are you still using that, the EOS? Can you tell us a little bit about that experience?
It remind me, Yoshi, explain which one that Rob said, because Rob is the data guy. So he talked a lot about different processes.
Okay, so if I remember correctly, you guys implemented EOS, which is a system for goal setting. Was that at the store level, on the corporate level? Is that something you interact with?
Yeah, every day. Yes. Corporate, at store. Again, quarter times is probably the foundational part of how we do it on a process at the store level. And then for corporate side, the EMT, executive management team, is we go through process a lot. And he was talking, I think, about tiger teams, having a process management team, set a goal, and then go through the pain points of how we get there, and then involve innovation, which we do that a lot.
Simplify that for us, right? How has it been for you with this goal setting framework at the dealership? I've since then, I have heard of multiple other dealers. I just had Ben Farisi from I think it's a 4-store group in Colorado, who also, I believe, implemented EOS. They've been raving about it, just creating goals, alignment across the dealership, kind of furthering the business. How has that been for you? What can you tell us about that experience since we last spoke?
I mean, it's transformed our organization. You're talking about a fourth generation, 85 plus years that they've been doing it a certain way. And then when Rob and Lee, G4s came in and we started that, breaking down silos between departments has been big. How they work together, that they're all on the same alignment with the goals. And it's, yeah, but it has to be, you have to have buy-in from everybody. There's a lot of training that goes involved. A lot of time that put in, and we don't want to hear meetings, but you got to have, we call them huddles, enough huddles to get the team together and hey, we said we were going to do this. Let's hold each other responsible. Big accountability measures. But yeah, it's transformed us to a whole different organization where now we're functioning with GMs, where 2 years ago we didn't have GMs.
What is it? I guess I don't know. I understand what you say, EOS, and I chat GPT to entrepreneurial operating system. What is it that you're describing?
That is a Rob, probably Rob can answer.
Okay. Nope, that's fair.
To me,
yeah, look,
it was our Tiger teams. Yeah.
Yeah. It just, it's a fancy term, but if it just simply put, it's the right way, or it's a right way to build an organization and help it grow so that there's very strong alignment across the team, right? Proper mission, vision, goals, right? Everyone is rowing in the same direction. What is important right now, Sam? Is it important? Like, if we want to grow sales, okay, cool. How are we doing that? We're not going to just say we want to grow sales. Are we, like you said, are we putting an emphasis on X amount of posts per month on social, or what effort are we making? So it's just a good way to create alignment across the organization, especially as you're scaling.
Yoshi, the biggest part of there's two things. Are you doing it employee centric or customer centric? And part of that is finding out that a lot of our processes were wrapped around what the dealership is doing. It had nothing to do with what the customer experience was supposed to be. And when you actually put that down and how each department isn't aligned is affecting the customer experience. And it takes some work.
So we're almost out of time on this, and it's fun because, Eric, I think we could keep going on and on and on, but this EOS, or this process, I'd love to learn more about it. You've recently built and moved into what you call the Taj Mahal Ford dealership, Taj Mahal of all Ford dealerships in San Antonio, Texas. This process that you're talking about, and then social media posts, all these other things, you've scaled that Ford store very fast. Tell everybody where you went from in volume to where you are today, and maybe did this process play into your being able to ramp up so quickly at this big Ford dealership?
Well, the team purchased was really a commercial store, and we had some retail. It's called Cavender Grande in San Antonio. They were doing, when they bought it, maybe 15 retail units, mostly commercial, but they did buy it for this purpose. They bought a water park in San Antonio and built a Ford dealership on it, and we moved it here. We went from 60 units to almost 300 units, big facility. And then we found,
it looks great. I'm looking at it. It looks awesome.
Yeah. And I will tell you, it starts with the operator that we found, who believed in the system, and he's doing phenomenal. Casey Ogletree is the GM here, and he's believed in it. And now, 7 months into it, we're touching 300 units, and we're seeing a lot of growth.
Well, Eric Barbosa, VP Variable Ops. Oh, go ahead, Yossi.
No, I was going to say, is that your billboard on the Ford lot, or are you paying rent on that thing?
I think we own that one.
I hope you own that one. Fuck. I hope they're not fucking putting a billboard. I'd love to see it. It's always a funny thing, the directional billboards. Yeah. I know.
All right. Well, Eric Barbosa, we could keep going. We appreciate your perspectives. VP Variable Ops, Cavender Auto Group. Good luck this Memorial Day weekend. Thanks for sharing your 10 posts and some of these other processes you guys have. We need you back to learn a little bit more. So thank you, Eric.
Appreciate y'all.
And to our audience, and Yossi, just a reminder, post in the comments, what are you doing this Memorial Day weekend to capitalize on this holiday? Submit your answers into the chat. We'll come back to it at the very end of the show. And Yossi, that brings us into today's Industry Pulse, which is a CDG poll that was on X, where you and the CDG team asked consumers if they prefer touch screens or physical buttons. And here's the answer, Yossi. Over 65% of respondents prefer, drumroll, buttons, knobs, and switches. But a strong contingent of Tesla drivers disagree. We should see an image of that survey here moments ago. What's your takeaway on that, Yossi? buttons versus touching.
People want simplicity.
Yeah.
Look, this is like extremely imperfect poll because everyone that drives a Tesla in the comments is saying, well, Tesla's touchscreen is incredible, user experience. So I think what people don't want is the OEM modules where you have to click through 5 different things. It's super delayed.
Yeah.
And the UI
Yeah.
looks like I'm using Windows Vista from the early 2000s, right? That's what
Yeah.
people don't want. So it always
Yeah.
comes down to the quality. At CDG, we say it's all about the content, right? In reference to the media business. You try to think of like what's not working. And this is no different in tech, right? Like, can you just put out a product that is at a level where it's easy enough to use to the point where, oh yeah, I actually do want a touchscreen because it's very intuitive.
Yeah. I tell you, I'm driven nuts by some of the touchscreens. There are some that are better where they're not hidden between layers, and there are some that are worse. We have a comment on social. So Anastas Polios, I worked for VW Audi brand. Am I cooked? It's an interesting question.
Yeah. It's a little guest comment here. Well, I don't think so. With regards to touchscreens or not, I mean, I hope you're not cooked, but we did post another post earlier today about VW sales a little bit slow. So, I think you definitely got to drum up some business this weekend. That's what I would say.
Yeah. So you're watching the CDG feed. So great survey on the touch versus buttons, knobs, and whatnot. And it'll be interesting to follow that. I would disagree, Yossi, a little bit. I think 12,000 respondents to the survey is probably going to be not scientific, but that's a pretty good gauge. That's a lot of responses. So, all right, Yossi, we'll start with that with Brett. Before we go there, though, let's talk about Wrench Total Care. So today's episode is brought to you by Wrench Total Care. Want to boost your gross profits by selling prepaid maintenance without a service center? Speaking of the independent auto dealers out there, this new offering levels the playing field between independents and the big dealers, which is a big dealer. Yeah. Wrench Total Care lets you offer mobile maintenance plans, oil changes, tire rotations, even brakes, all done at your home. Your customers get convenience. You get more revenue on every deal. And if you're using Dealer Center, it's already built into your workflow for seamless upsells. Not on Dealer Center? Not a problem. Visit TotalWrenchCare.com and start earning on every deal today. Yossi, this levels that playing field between independents and dealers.
Yep. Love me some Wrench. Wrench is great. Try Wrench out. Love them. Use them. Make money. Have fun.
Go for it. All right. Of adversity. We're experiencing some adversity here on our live stream. So, Yossi, earlier this week, you had a show. You had Matt Bowers on, and Matt Bowers talked about sale-leasebacks. And so our next guest, Ned Hennessy, who is Vice President, Dealer Investments at SURMOUNT, has a counter opinion to the conversation that was had earlier. So, Ned Hennessy, welcome to the show.
Thank you guys for having me.
Ned, welcome. So the quick context here, as you mentioned, there's been a lot of buzz on sale-leasebacks on social. And so we did what we do, which is we invited Matt Bowers on the show, who's been, pretty outspoken about the, this form of financing for dealers. Again, for those that don't know what sale-leasebacks are or just not familiar with it, I'm going to way oversimplify it, but you are looking to raise financing, and you may be a dealer, you may be a prospective dealer. And so what do? You essentially sell the real estate to a firm that specializes in real estate, and they lease it back to you. And when that happens, you get a lot of money, and you can redeploy that capital in other ways. And they lease it to you, so you pay them, a lease. That's basically how it works. Matt Bowers, large dealer from the Sun Belt, been very outspoken about it. We had him 2 episodes ago. And so, Ned, it's great to have you on. Ned, can you just give us the quick high-level overview of, your experience in the space, what you do?
Yeah. So I, got into real estate and, took a generalist approach, I think, and, wanted to find something that nobody was really doing. And that was dealership investments. And that was, 4 or 5 years ago. The space for 2 decades has been, kind of dominated by 1 or 2 funds, really going directly to dealers and dictating the market as far as sale-leaseback capital goes. there was a huge kind of light bulb moment for me that there wasn't really a tremendous amount of advisory as it relates to dealership, real estate capital, really understanding the space, the players, what dealers need, right? Taking and holding them by the hand and offering a service, right, as it relates to again, this very specific niche of the market. And so got into the space, worked my way in with groups and dealers, and two firms later, joined formerly in Pro, now SURMOUNT, and who's Glenn Kanofsky, found our firm, is really like the godfather of the sale-leaseback in the net lease space, and was able to offer my experience and expertise and kind of niche in this space with the platform that's done it
So,
better and more than anyone.
so Ned, why would a dealer want to sell their real estate off to a third party company? What's the benefit or the advantage? Matt says, "Hey, it was a tough proposition. He's not a fan." What was wrong with his setup, and why would it be advantageous to a dealer?
I think it would be, first off, it's not for everybody, right? It's not, this isn't like, if anybody
Who's it
comes to you
for?
and says, it's for people that see the opportunity cost in the dollar in the real estate versus the dollar in the business, right? There is an opportunity cost to that. Your real estate is a it's a static investment. You need it, you need to control it, you need to you absolutely have to have access to the facility to to operate. You do not have to own it. And there's an opportunity cost, for every dollar that is invested in the real estate. It's not, being put into growth or optimizing the business. And I think the key is, partnering with the right capital source, right? These contracts, these leases, they have to be done correctly. And I think, it's super important to understand there's a massive market for this, and an advisor that should be retained for something like this.
So what should a dealer like? I get it. It frees up
Mhm.
capital, and if you're trying to become a franchise dealer and you don't have a lot of capital to go spend to buy the multiplier, you probably need to do something like this. It's kind of cost to enter, right? Like, it's tough anymore. I remember back in the day when a Ford rep could cobble some money together and buy a Ford store. That's just not
Right.
possible anymore. I would imagine this is very appealing to someone that doesn't have the cash or the capital. They can sell that real estate back. What are you looking for in the best situation so that it doesn't turn into a negative in terms of a partner?
Yeah, and to your point, and again, I'm not, my opinion here is not one of controversy. It's one of it's just a differing one that I think there are bad deals in this space. You don't have to do bad deals, right? And to partner with an advisor, that understands the space, understands that there's a market, understands the terms, that are very important to think about at the time of these deals is really my point. And I think that
What
I don't think it's necessarily. Yeah, go ahead.
what should I run from, Ned? If I'm looking at doing one of these, I want to go buy a Nissan store. I want to buy a Stellantis store right now, and I'm looking at different leaseback companies. What should I run from?
Never. I think someone that is coming to you directly without any sort of market competition or pressure is going to give you the best terms, right? I mean, why would they? They're self-interested. These funds are. They're trying to mitigate risk and maximize return, right? And when you're able to flip that script and kind of dictate the terms to the market, it's a totally different approach. And you need to be very careful of assignment, change of control provisions, so that you can sell the business down the road. You need to be able to have flexibility to renovate or improve the facility to meet your needs.
So I do have a question. I do have a question about that, Ned. It's interesting. We're in an automotive industry where we partner with these OEMs. The OEM will come to us and say, "Look, you need to remodel this facility. You need to put a sign out front that costs X dollars, and it's a big digital board." Right. How do you negotiate through that in a leaseback situation where you don't have total control over the facility that way?
I think most landlords want the business to optimize, right? To be run at its maximum level, and to do that, you have to meet the OEM's requirements, and then receive those incentives post completion of the renovations. And There's a couple different ways that can be funded post sale leaseback, either amortizing, the cost into the lease. Most landlords will fund this, right? And it can be amortized into the lease. You can go get leasehold, financing from a third party. But there's no limitation really for a dealer. You're going to be able to fund that. It's just at what cost, and making sure that sometimes that those I think it's better to just negotiate that up front in these deals and into the contracts, how it's going to be, the option to have it funded by your landlord, how that looks, right, dictate it at the contract table.
So final question, Ned, and then final question here. If you're in a bad deal, and it sounds like Matt's in one, and so probably there's some other dealers are, maybe they don't have the control they want, they can't make the decisions they want, it wasn't written right in the first place. How do you get out of it?
Matt and I have spoken with all the controversy this week, and I'm going to leave it short, but I think we can help him out. If you have done a bad deal, which there have been some, there've been lots. There are advisors out there that people that know the space that can use their leverage and expertise to try to create solution. I think having a third party is key, and we don't have a magic wand, but we've have a line of business that is dedicated to this, and created billions of dollars when clients have done bad lease deals and gotten them out of these situations. So.
Well, Ned Hennessy, Vice President Dealer Investments at SURMOUNT, thanks for joining the show to provide your countering perspective to the portion that went earlier this week. Appreciate you sharing your perspectives with us today, Ned.
Thanks so much. I hope everyone has a fantastic Memorial Day.
Let's go.
Thank you, Ned. Ned and Glenn, who you mentioned, the CEO of TripleNet, they've been really great. Like I've known them for about a year now, and Glenn, I've asked dealers around, and he was we were partnered on our NADA party this year, and just has a really great reputation. And so I would say I was relieved to hear when I did speak with Matt that they were obviously not involved in this situation. That made me feel good. Still not, great situation for Matt, but nonetheless, it's great, appreciate him stepping up to at least share. I mean, that's the purpose of this platform, to share, kind of different perspectives on who it may be for. And that was actually very helpful.
It's a practice not for everyone, but for those who need it. It's a great way to get into this industry and then also maximize cash potentially. So, all right, Yossi, time to turn back to Brett Sutherland. Let's drum roll again for the owner of Sutherland Automotive Group. Brett, welcome to the show.
Thanks. Hopefully this works out better.
It works out. We hear you great.
Awesome. Okay. Thanks, guys.
So Yossi started with a great question, Brett, and I think it would be interesting to start there with you had kind of proactively said you had a certain approach coming into these tariffs concerns, even overpaying for used inventory. What's your approach today? Has it changed any?
No, it's the same. I mean, we're still stepping up, and if we can buy cars from our consumers directly, from our customer base directly, we're doing so, and we're stepping up, and we're seeing huge opportunity from that. I mean, we're on track to close to double used car sales, so it's something that's working really, really well, and we are we're sticking to it. So, I mean, if you really think about it, if we could buy a car out of the service drive that Mr. and Ms. Smith own, and they bought it new from us, and we pay, $2,000 or $3,000 more for that car than MMR, we have a story, and stories sell. I mean, customers are getting a quality car. We know the history. It just makes a whole lot of sense. And, candidly, if I don't care about the front end gross that much on that car, as long as they're going to be a repeat customer and they're going to come back and they're going to service with us. And, we have earned a customer. The front end gross is not that important to us. We're basically in it to earn a customer for life. And, part of what we're doing, and we're in single point markets, which is great, is we're becoming a trusted resource for that customer. And people are understanding that we're aggressively buying cars, and, the business is growing, and we're selling more and more used cars as a result.
So Brett, you're essentially saying, I'm comfortable with taking a break-even front-end gross or maybe very minimal front-end gross. But to me, that's an investment in my brand, my reputation, my marketing, right? I'm giving up a little bit on the front. That puts the word out there that I'm buying cars. I'm an active participant. And then, of course, you still earn the back end and your future service business. Did I sort of summarize that correctly?
Look at the reconditioning we're gaining. I mean, if we're doubling the amount of cars going through our shop, I don't care if we make 1,000 on the front or if we lose the 1,000 on the front. It's irrelevant. As long as we earn the customer is going to service with us. They're going to come back. We're going to get a reputation in the community for being the trusted resource to go to sell a car to. It's a win-win-win. It's that's the view that I have of the situation.
And Brett, how much are we stepping up here? Right? Like, how economical is it? Are we, if you're stepping up $3,000 on a car, what's the replacement value of that? Can you get that at the auction for, $2,000 or 1,000 less, including transportation, or kind of where are we at?
You probably can, but you don't know the history of that vehicle. You don't know how well it was maintained. You don't know the owners. You don't know. I mean, if that car came in and it was at our Subaru dealership, our Lexus dealership, our Toyota dealership, and we know the history, we know we sold it, we maintained it. I mean, we're seeing customers come into our dealership, and if we can show them that, hey, Lexus in Montgomery, the customer bought the car new here. They've had the car in every 5,000 miles. They've done every major service. It hasn't been in an accident. And we can document that. We're seeing consumers step up equally to the amount we're stepping up. They're getting a better car, and it's literally a win-win-win. So no, our strategy hasn't changed at all. That is the exact same strategy we're using. And candidly, let's say the tariffs all go away. We're still going to do this. It just makes sense.
Yeah. How does F&I play into that, Brett, as you think about making a little bit or losing a little bit? What does that component look like in your used car operation?
Tremendously important, right? I mean, our focus is F&I. I mean, we're not in the business to not make money, but yeah, I mean, you have to obviously have a strong F&I department, which we do. And that is a key ingredient, just like getting the added reconditioning, getting more cars through the shop, having more opportunities with customers based on, the inventory that you have in stock. I mean, if you've got 200 used cars in inventory versus 100, you're literally going to get double the eyeballs on your dealership. So there's a lot of wins. The minor part is front end gross profit, and it's something we're not concerned with. And I think more dealers should look at that. It just makes a lot more sense. It's a better holistic approach to the business, in my view.
Brett, another question for you is I understand the idea here. What is your capacity like in service? Because I know you're also a Toyota dealer, and I can only imagine service is just like flooded. Are you able to? You mentioned I'm getting the reconditioning business. Do you have the capacity for that?
Where do
you kind of peak out?
Our Toyota store is on 27 acres. We're in a very, very fortunate situation with the size of our shop. We have a phenomenal team in place that's constantly hiring technicians. And candidly, if you've got that kind of workflow, you're going to have technicians raising their hand from other dealerships up and down the street that understand the work that Toyota of Montgomery has versus the competition, and they're going to want to come to work for you. And we have we have a new facility, we have a state-of-the-art shop, we have an air-conditioned shop, we have a great work environment, which also is huge in a recruiting perspective.
It's interesting. You mentioned Toyota and your growth in used cars. With only 41 days of new car supply, Toyota is tight. What are you doing you're probably leaning into used cars, but how are you operating in that environment with such a large footprint there at your Toyota store?
Yeah, you know what? We're fortunate because we bought the store 2 years ago, actually today. And
oh, wow.
We earned a lot of inventory from Toyota. We have, come up with a certified body shop. We got an extra 300 allocation of Toyotas for this year. We just hit we're still getting that incremental gain from Toyota because we're exceeding 110% of our objective. We're turning cars incredibly fast. So luckily for us, Toyota is giving us the product to help us grow. which is great. And I mean, Sam, I mean, when you go in and buy a Toyota dealership, I mean, they're closely watching how fast you're turning these cars. And we've done a good job from day one. So, and we've done everything we can to earn more vehicles. We're about to start building a new Lexus dealership for the same reason. We're going to get an extra 800 to 900 cars a year. And in the Lexus world, that's just gold.
Those extra vehicles are absolutely gold. You've been very selfless on social and elsewhere and mentoring and helping to guide new professionals wanting to get into the business. A post of yours recently, Brett, made the rounds, I think, on LinkedIn, giving some tips for those coming into the industry. I'd love to get your perspective on it. You talk about some key metrics. After step number 2 on this post, after consistently building your customer list, you should be noticing at least 40% of your customers as repeat customers. And then you go on to talk about 50% of your customer base should be repeats after you deepen into it. What prompted that post now, Brett?
We're doing a phenomenal job in I'm doing a phenomenal job in attracting talent at Northwood. Northwood has been a key place for us. I'm going there several times a year, have a great, relationship with the president, to LG, to really the whole staff there. And it really, I was there I was there as a speaker a couple months ago, and I've got the attention of a lot of students. So, doing that to give students an idea of, what it looks like, what it actually looks like if you do make the jump and you come to work for us, even if it's not for us, if it's for someone else. These are kids that want to be in the business. And
Correct.
If I can give them the blueprint and give them an idea of what this should look like, it's a win-win. I mean, we're getting more and more students. I'm getting a lot of students reaching out to me direct saying, hey, look, I want to do an internship with you, or I'm graduating in May. Let's set up a phone call, or next time you're on campus, let's meet. So it's just a good way to give back. And in return, you're having a lot of students reach out, have actually had other students start reaching out from other places than Northwood, which is really cool.
Brett, I'm going to echo that. We at Car Dealership Guy just hired our first student from Northwood.
Nice.
And so, believe it or not, yes, on our ad sales team. So we're pretty excited. We're going to announce it probably a month or so, but couldn't be more excited, and appreciate LG putting in a good word for us. Someone did ask here in the comments, and I had the same exact thought. So I think this is pretty awesome. Steven Zero, his name is on Instagram. He asked, are you training your salespeople any differently in order to, when you're selling these private party or kind of service drive vehicles, right? You mentioned specifically there's a story, and you want to make sure you articulate that story to the potential buyer, because that's a big part of the value proposition. And so are you training them in any way differently when it comes to these vehicles?
100% have to let them know that, one, stories sell cars, right? And then exactly what the story is of each car. We've really gone away from buying at the auctions almost fully. So it's been a big step for us, and it's something we've been working with on the last 3 years, and developing our own software from an acquisition perspective in the drive to really the word spreading on the street. And yes, you get salespeople that are very spoiled. Once they realize how powerful the vehicle history report is, it's a game changer. It really is. Your closing percentage goes through the roof.
What's the software you've developed to help accommodate? That's a pretty bold thing to say, given your used car volume, because how many used cars do you sell a month that you've gone almost away from?
And I think it's important context that Brett does have a background in tech and software. So we did do a podcast together, and Brett can share this, but he's been in the software business, so he does have experience with that, which I think is definitely helpful in that sense.
Yeah, no, it is. And, so Sam, we've developed software the last, I guess, going on 4 years now, where we are literally giving an appraisal to for every vehicle that comes through our service drive. And it is evaluating our current used car inventory, and we'll set parameters based on MMR. So if we're light on Toyota 4Runners, used Toyota 4Runners, and we have one that comes through, it is going to increase the offer based on how badly we need that car. If we have 10 of them in stock, you're not going to get as high of an offer as if we have one in stock. So I was not able to find any vendors that had that capability. and that could automatically adjust like that. And then we also give our general managers the ability to go in and adjust on a car by car basis. So if we're doing really well with Chevy Silverados in Montgomery, Alabama, or in Knoxville, we can adjust accordingly. We can say, hey, these are what they're bringing at Manheim. We're going to pay 110% of MMR.
So Brett, Steven Zero makes the comment or asks the question, how many units are you buying monthly? I'd be curious how many through the software and then how many total. That's
about 350 total a month.
Wow.
Between 3 stores.
Yeah. So 100 some odd per store. Correct. Through the software in the drive, in the lane.
Yes. And we've really, I cannot tell you the last time we've had any of our stores buy a car at an auction.
Wow. Okay. Which that's the best inventory, the best quality, lowest recon. What are the economics of that in the drive? We've asked that of other guests. How do you pay the advisors or spiff, whoever you spiff, to create that activity? Because the software will take at one point, but then somebody needs to come in and
so we are finding that the advisor has more credibility when they're presenting the offer to the customer than a salesperson. So it's Smart. The advisor. Secondly, let's say you, Sam, brought your car in and you bring in a Toyota Camry, and the Camry needs $3,000 worth of work. We're paying the advisor retail on that $3,000 work when we trade for it.
Smart. Yeah.
Plus we're spiffing him $200 for every acquisition.
Wow. So he's almost disincentivized to do the work. I mean, I might as well get it traded in because I'm getting paid on it anyway.
Exactly. And that's been a win-win for us.
Yeah. And is that number that you just mentioned, is that baked into the 3,000?
It is. Yes.
Okay. So that's all inclusive of that as well. I understand.
Correct.
Steven Zero makes the comment, that is strong. That's strong. And that's a great, and you get the bell as well, which we haven't had the bell. Nobody's got the bell yet today, Brett. Thank you. We don't know where it comes from. But that is strong. That is very cool. We appreciate you sharing that with us. We've heard service drive used car acquisition many times over the past couple of weeks, and it's interesting the difference between those that talk to it and those that execute on it. And you've got a solid plan to execute on it. Was it hard to start? Like, what was your biggest obstacle as you began implementing this?
The biggest obstacle was automation. Automation is what makes this work. I mean, if you're really having to scurry and make an offer, our Toyota store is writing 3,000 ROs a month. If you're going through and you're having to write an offer on 3,000, cars, appraisals on 3,000 cars, it's impossible. So the automation was what was key, and that's what led us to developing our own software. So that was the key component. Right now, when let's say we have 150 ROs coming in the previous day, those 150 appraisals are automatically run and on the advisor's printer that morning. So it's an automated system that we've completely customized.
Well, Brett Sutherland, owner Sutherland Auto Group, we appreciate you being on the show today and sharing so much of your perspectives. Would love to have you back as we go through this summer, just to check in and see how that's continues to go. But thanks for being
let's do
on the
it.
show,
I appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brett.
Talk to
you. Yeah, the service drive stuff comes up, and again, some people talk about it, some people don't. But there are a few dealers that just execute on it at a very high level, and that's got to be a differentiator you'll see in the market.
Yeah, he's running an aggressive model, and I like it. I mean, he's going all in. I mean, he's very clear. You see, he's paying where he needs to pay. He's aligning incentives. He's disincentivizing the service advisor to do service because in lieu of or in order to get that trade in. Yeah. So it's a very aggressive model, but he has a clear strategy, and it seems like it's a winner. We didn't ask him what's net margin, like how this all kind of rolls down to the bottom line.
Yeah.
So that's one other question that I would be curious about. But we will ask him that, and he probably hears us right now in the green room, so we can still, for next episode we can start off with that.
Yeah. Steven Zero has another comment. When is Brett going to start selling the software to other dealers? Sounds like something we need at Cable Dahmer. And I do think it's interesting. Software, he said, automation is key, but how many have software that does something similar but just don't utilize it, right? Like, I think execution is a big part of it too. So maybe we can get his perspective.
Process.
maybe we can get his perspective in the green room. We'll share it with everybody after the show. So we appreciate everybody watching today. It's Memorial Day weekend. Hope everybody just crushes it out there in all of automotive. And we will not be airing a show this Monday due to the Memorial Day holiday, but we'll be back at it Wednesday. And hopefully we've got some great results to report from the weekend again as we close out the month that following Saturday. So thank you for watching Daily Dealer Live, where we break down the biggest moves in the car business as they happen. Don't forget, we're live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. We're skipping this Monday. So if this is your world, hit subscribe, turn on notifications so you never miss a beat. And we'll catch you next episode. Yossi, thanks for being with us on this one.
Salute.